Welcome to the Richard Lloyd USA YouTube channel. I'm Richard Lloyd. Today I'm making a follow-up video on my series of videos that I made on the MR7350 router. I've showed you how to use DD-WRT on it to create 4 separate networks, which is really cool. But I'm going to expand on this because even in the last video I did mention that configuration had a limitation. And number one limitation was that this portion of it, the 40 network or the 4th network, had to be within Wi-Fi range of this router for any of these devices to use the Wi-Fi, which is a limitation because you got to be usually within 40-50 feet of your router to get decent Wi-Fi. It starts to drop off after that. So in this video, I'm going to address that problem. Also, I'm going to put chapters in the video description below if you just want to skip ahead to, the meat of this video. But I have to explain a few things as I'm going through here as to why and how I'm doing this. So, bear with me. Otherwise, use the chapters down there. I'll put links for stuff in the video description below as well. But I suggest you watch the video because I'm going to give you little tips throughout the video that are valuable, and you don't want to miss that stuff really. What if we had this network that we wanted to create, the 4th network, was 300 feet away? You can actually go up to 328 feet away with an Ethernet cable, which is 100 meters, before it starts degrading signal and starts becoming unreliable. You can actually go a lot further than that if you just repeat it using another router or a switch or something that they call a PoE extender or repeater, but that's for another video. But let's just say you have an outbuilding out back and it's the cable length to it is 300 feet. You want a network in your garage or in your shop and you need Wi-Fi out there. Well, this is not going to do it for you because there's no way that 300 feet away through the walls and everything else that the Wi-Fi is going to reach that outbuilding. It's just not. If you do it, you barely have it, and that's not really functional. So one of the ways you can get past that is to use an access point, or what they call an access, a Wi-Fi extender, and which is usually the way that they're marketed. And I have the top 2 of these Wi-Fi extenders right here. As you can see, I got the Tenda AX3000 and the TP-Link AX3000, and you can see the model numbers up there. And again, I'll put links to the stuff in the video description below. And basically all you need to do with those is plug them into the switch, configure them, and off you go. And I have a video on how to do that up here, so I'll put it right up there. It'll be a card. You can just click on it and go watch how you do that if you choose this option. Now, I don't recommend this option, but I'll tell you what, it's fairly straightforward and easy to do. And as you can see, you can go as high as $74, $40, or $26 to get this done. Let me give you a few tips on that as well. All right, here's one of the weird things about access points. And by the way, your router, your MR7350, this one right here, is also an access point. Anything with Wi-Fi on it going to a network, that's an access point. So all routers are actually access points as well. That's what the Wi-Fi would be called on them. So again, this follows the same rules as I'm going to explain right at this moment. So what's the big deal here, okay? Well, if you look at the speeds of these things, you can see that the 5 gigahertz on the top one is 2.4 gigabits or 2400 megabits per second. Same on the second one, which is half the price, which is way better deal if you're going for this. And 2.4 gigahertz is 574 megabytes per second. Now down here, you see that this is 1200 megabits per second, and the 2.4 is slightly slower at 300 megabits per second, which is still plenty fast for 2.4 gigahertz. And 1200, you might say, well, that's not very quick. Well, here's the problem with these devices, and actually it's also a problem with routers as well. See right here, these Ethernet ports? This is how these devices are going to connect to your network. So Wi-Fi is going to flow into the antennas through the machine or through the device, and then out through these into your network. And all access points work the same way. They use Ethernet to connect to the rest of the devices on your network. So you can talk through Wi-Fi between devices, but that's very limited. When you do that, you're usually printing to a Wi-Fi direct printer, or you're casting from your phone to a screen, which is usually 4K, maybe 8K. But again, these speeds that you see on here would be more than fast enough to do that. Any one of these access points could do that, including the cheapest one. But problem's right here. These are gigabit Ethernet ports. So what does that mean? That means that any one of all this speed, the 24 megabits per second, this 24 megabits per second, once it hits that port, it's going to be choked down to 1 megabit per second or 1,000 megabytes. 1 gigabit per second or 1,000 megabits per second, because that's what these ports are. As you can see here, 1,000 megabits. So it doesn't matter how fast your Wi-Fi is once you ask for something from the internet, or you're sending something to your network or through the internet. Once it hits that port, the speed goes down to this right here, 1,000 megabits per second, right? Now that's still plenty fast, pretty quick, but again, why pay for all that speed here if you're not going to use it? Just go with the $26 option and off you go. Now it's the same thing with the router too. Like this is I think that's 1,200 megabits, almost the same speed as the bottom Tenda. But once it hits the Ethernet ports, which is how you get to the internet and the rest of your devices on your network that are Ethernet, you go at 1,000 megabits per second. So all that the extra 1,200, the extra 200 megabits per second gets wasted right there. So I recommend going with it. If you're going with a pre-bought, pre-configured access point from Tenda or TP-Link or whoever, Netgear, whatever, I recommend going with this one, the AX1500 at $27, right? Now here's the pros for that. Easy setup, reasonable price, excellent Wi-Fi 6 speeds, and they work well. Cons: they got limited configuration options. So they're very limited in what you can do or settings that you can set on them. They're just basically, plug and play kind of devices. There's no third-party firmware on them, so you're stuck with the firmware that these companies send you. Security updates are dependent on those companies, and they're the only people who are going to update them. That's it. And when they, and they do that on their own timeline, not, a quick timeline, as third-party firmwares are updated like that every time that some vulnerability is found. So updates in hardware are time limited. In other words, eventually, Tenda is going to go, hey, we don't support that device anymore, so you don't get any more updates. So throw it away because it's now no longer secure. And on top of that, if there is a warranty on it, eventually it times out as well. But that's not as important as getting firmware updates that keeps your network secure. So that's, for me, the big reason. So it's probably good for about 2 years before that times out maximum, right? But you check that on their website. And also they will use one Ethernet port on your switch, and you will need to use your switch to get them to plug in. Now, here's what I propose doing. Take your MR7350 or buy an MR7350 and turn it into an access point. That's what I'm going to show you how to do in this video. So, again, it's got 5 Ethernet ports on the back, and when we're done making it into an access point, there'll be 4 free ones for you to use to plug whatever you want into those Ethernet ports and connect it to your network. So if you only need 4 Ethernet ports, then you can get rid of this switch right here and just use this device here, the MR7300, to connect to all your stuff out in your shop, let's say, right? Speeds are decent. Like you can see here, the 5 gigahertz is the same speed as that $29 or $27 access point for 1200, right? And remember, we got that limit on gigabit ports anyway. So none of those will go any faster than 1,000 megabits per second. None of them. Not when they're connecting to the internet, not when they're talking to your network, to any device that's on Ethernet. Now that's still pretty quick, as I said. And you can see here also that the 2.4 gigahertz on this is 300 megabits per second. And that on this, the 2.4 is 574 megabits per second. So you get the 2.4 gigahertz speed of either one of these on this router, plus 4 Ethernet ports, plus you're getting a router, plus there's a lot of pluses. We're just going to keep going here. So that's what I propose doing here, and that's what I'm going to show how to do in this video. Here's the pros, here's the cons. Wi-Fi 6 AX1800, great. Running DD-WRT, third-party firmware, endlessly updated. It's been updated now for 12 years straight, so I don't see that stopping. It's got regular network Wi-Fi, so you can just connect to it normally. Also allows you to do multiple virtual access points, so you could run not just one SSID, you could have 5 different Wi-Fi connections on this router or more if you need them. I don't know why you need them. Maybe you want to separate stuff. I don't know, but it's possible. It's not possible on one of these. And on top of that, this does not have, neither one of these or any access points have isolated guest networks. None of them do. Basically because they're running as access points, they don't give you that feature to add a guest network. That's another plus about using the router. It allows you to do that. And it also allows you to isolate that that IoT network, and you can create I'll show you how to do it. We're going to create its own access point or virtual access point for your IoT stuff. 4 free Ethernets on the back of the router when you're done, right? And if you keep the switch, this is an 8-port switch, you'll have a total of 10 free Ethernet ports on the back. With the additional 8-port Ethernet switch, which you see over here. And again, I'll put links for this stuff in the video description. And the cons are used market availability. I've noticed this weird thing. Ever since I put my video series out, I've noticed the price of all of these routers has gone up on eBay at least. And also, I don't seem to be finding as many bargains on them in my local market either. Basically, I've woken people up that this is an excellent DD-WRT router. It's not listed on their webpage, so nobody knew until I put these videos out that this is there. And well, very few people did anyway. And I just made it mass market. And now I believe, but maybe it's not me, maybe I'm just dreaming, but I believe that demand for these has gone up, so the prices have gone up. But you can get them on eBay anywhere from $20 to $35 used. And if you want, a returnable option or a warranted option, you can buy them on Amazon renewed for $40, a piece. Again, links in the video description below and on the first pinned comment. So I strongly suggest that you go this route. I don't know why you wouldn't, other than, it does require some work on your part. So here we're going to go next. So here we have, basically how you could do this with using this router, but I'm not doing this. I'm using it as an access point. So this is how it's going to look. Okay, so we're going to run an Ethernet cable from port 4 of the primary router. Again, watch those videos if you haven't done it already. To any Ethernet port on the back of this router. I always use one. Use one. Don't use the WAN port, because until you configure it as an access point, that WAN port will be a WAN port. After we configure it as an access point, that WAN port will be a LAN port, like all the rest of them. It will be an access point. It won't be a router anymore. And here's what you're going to have. You're going to have Wi-Fi for your network 300 feet away and very close to your router, because I'm sure your router will be in the same room or the same space that you're working in. And you'll have 4 free Ethernet ports for all these devices and for you to use. And they will all have access to the internet as well, and anything on that network. So as well, we're going to create a jailed IoT, like what you see over here, network for that space as well. So let's say you have security cameras on your garage or your shop out back, or something like a electronic lock or smart lock or smart plugs or whatever. You can put those all into a jailed IoT network, and that's what we're going to do out here. And if you wish to add the switch, you can just plug it into one of the ports on the back, which will give you still 3 Ethernet ports on the back of the router that are free, plus 7 more on there. So that's a total of 10. And basically a way, way, way more flexible solution than just buying one of these access points. I'll probably be selling these on, I don't know, Facebook or eBay, because I just don't use them anymore. I don't need them. And as access points, as I said, they're limited to the gigabit port on the side of them right there. They just can't go any faster than that, right? So now if you're using them as extenders, the faster the better, right? When they're extenders, basically what you're doing is you're you're having the two of them talk to each other through Wi-Fi. That, you know, if you're using them as wireless extenders, yeah, the faster the Wi-Fi, the better, right? But we're not. We're using them as access points, so it's not all that important. Links in the video description below. But before we get to anything else, we need to first reset the router, and the way you do that is by using the reset. I use it, the reset button, the red button on the back. I power up the router, let it boot, and then I hold it down with a toothpick like that for about 15-20 seconds, and then you'll see the front light start flashing, and the router will reboot, and then it'll be reset. There is another way of doing it in the administration tab as well. Again, we're using DD-WRT, and you know, want to know how to install that on this router and make it into an access point, watch the videos up there. And so once it's reset, then the next thing you're going to need to do is hook up an Ethernet cable to it. And I use port 1 just out of habit. You see it right there. And the other side of that Ethernet cable goes to your computer, your PC or your laptop, whatever you're using. And if you don't have an Ethernet cable in your laptop or your PC, you can buy a USB Ethernet cable like this for about $10 on Amazon. And it's gigabit speed, very fast, USB 3. And you can buy it in this format, USB-A, or you can buy it in USB-C as well. And I'll put links for that in the video description below. You have no idea how handy these are once you start using them. Very, very handy. But that's how you get an Ethernet port on a PC or a laptop that you don't have one in right now. Like I said, these are good for laptops. They're good for PCs, desktops, whatever. As long as you got a USB port, A or C, you can use it. So once we connect it to the computer, we turn it on and we rock and roll from there. And remember, reset it to the default setting before you do that. So that's the hardware connection, and I'll show you that here. As you can see, just run an Ethernet cable from port 4 to port 1 on the new router. Now, 323 feet away, probably the cable's going to go outside. If you're going to do that, make sure it doesn't require a conduit to do that. There's two types. There's outdoor cables that require conduit, which basically is a pipe that you put it through. And there's outdoor cables you can just bury bare. You know, they have a really strong shielding on the outside, and you can just bury them in the ground without a conduit. I don't really recommend that, but it's easy. Conduit is much easier, much better to work with, right? But regardless, up to you how you do that, but make sure you use outdoor cable. Don't just use regular indoor Ethernet cable. That won't end well. Something will go chewing through it, and then you'll have a problem, right? So, again, Ethernet cable to the port on the back, and just by itself. We're not connecting anything else to it yet. So let's go to the router. I've got mine set up already, so let's just go here. Again, we're following this diagram, and so there's what you're going to get when you get it, you know, reset. Then put a, you know, username and password. And just as a caveat here also, I will put, if you look here on my videos, I always put a configuration file right there, zip file. Just click on that. You'll download a config file for the router. You restore that config file on the router, and it will basically be set exactly the way this router will be set by me following this video. So you don't have to go through the steps of doing it, all of this step by step. If you download that config file and just install it on your router, boom, this is going to be exactly the same way as you see here on the screen. And on top of that, the next thing you need to do once you do that is read the text file that comes along with that zip file, and it will tell you what to do with that file, because there's a whole bunch of passwords and stuff that you need to change, and you need to know them in order to get into the router after you put the configuration file in, because it will have those passwords in it. So, you know, download the file, install the file. Before you do that, actually just read the text file and then install the file, and then you'll be just fine, okay? So just want you to know about that. Links for these links for this screen and my website will be in the first pinned comment, as well as in the video description if there's room there as well, but always in the first pinned comment. All right, so here we go. We'll go set this up, and I'm going to use the same passwords as I would there. So I usually use admin for the username. Got it right. Now the next thing you click on will ask you for the password. So we'll Well, I've already put it in here, so it knows it, but it will ask you again for, your username and password. Just put it in again and continue on. Let's go over here to setup. WAN connection type. See this right here, disabled? Leave it disabled. What that does is DD-WRT automatically knows that if you leave that disabled, what it does is it turns that WAN port, this yellow port on the back right there. See if you can see it there, that one. It turns that into a LAN port. So you'll be able to plug anything you want into any one of those 4 ports, including the internet port, which will also just now be a LAN port. But you can't do that until we finish this setup. So here, the name doesn't matter. This shortcut forwarding engine, we're going to click on that. Though it doesn't really matter from an access point of view, I'm just going to leave that. Leave that on SFE because it doesn't make any difference to your speed. Down here, the IP address is going to be changed. We're going to change this to 192.40.2. There we go. And what that will do is basically, if we look back at our diagram, you see here that it's on the 40 network, and this is 40.1. This is now going to be 40.2. On my other diagram over here, you can see right here that the local bridge network is 192.168.40.1, and this is .40.2. So basically what it does is it puts it on this network as number 2. So after we're done configuring this, if you want to get to this router, you got to go to 192.168.40.2. Now the gateway has to be put in here, so we're going to put in 192.168.40.1. That's the other router. 192.168.40. That's for DNS.1. Again, like I said, download the config file, and this is all done for you. We're going to disable DHCP because we don't need it here. We're using the DHCP server on the primary router. So uncheck these 2 things as well. Scroll down to here. Choose US Central right there. And then hit save. Don't hit save and apply, just hit save. If you hit save and apply, the IP address will change to 192.168.40.2, plus the DHCP server will be turned off, and now you won't be able to connect to this anymore. But we're going to make that happen here in a minute, but right now we're just going through the motions here, okay? So let's go here to wireless, and you can see that there's a default name in here, and I'm just going to follow my diagram on this. So the wireless, I'm just going to call the first wireless, which is right there, DD-WRT, DD-WRT 5G, right? So let's just put that in. So instead of what I got there, and then down here, if I followed my own, that's what I got. There we are. So these 2 things right there, I just set up. Preliminary, we got to put passwords and stuff in there. But you can see that we got LAN 2, 3, 4, and WAN available. One of them will be used up, but regardless, it's there on there. Here, just save again. We're now hitting save and apply. Remember what happens if we do that. Here, we're going to use a virtual app. So we're going to click on add a virtual app. This is going to be your IoT or your Internet of things like cameras or I don't know, garage door openers, which there may be out there, stuff like that, IoT devices, smart plugs, whatever, right? That's a network you want to use. This is going to be an isolated network for those devices, and it's going to be 5 gigahertz. Now, most IoT devices are 2.4 gigahertz, so I'm just giving you both options, but again, you may have 5 gigahertz IoT devices. They are popping up. So here, we're going to change this to the name that I have on my diagram, which is number 2. As you can see here, number 2 G Wi-Fi 24. Now, why is it called number 2? Because you have it over here. See G Wi-Fi 24. You want to draw a distinction between the 2. Not that there's probably going to be any crosstalk, but there could be. Like you could be within enough range of your primary router that the two devices could talk to either one of the routers. So by changing the name, there's no possibility of the IoT devices in your house ever connecting to these out in your shop, right? So that's why I'm going with that. So 2G Wi-Fi 24 and 2G Wi-Fi 50. So let's just do that and put it here. Oh, nope. We're going to create a new one here, a virtual app down here for the 2.4 gigahertz IoT devices. So this is the one here. Wow, what happened there? This is the one for G Wi-Fi, the 50, and this is going to be 24 for 2.4 gigahertz. So pretty self-explanatory, and if you look on the actual block diagram, you can see it that it's all detailed there, right? So back to here, save again. There we go. Now you've got those things configured. I leave 2.4 on this setting. This is the default setting for 2.4. It is the friendliest setting for that, and basically means that all your IoT devices will easily connect to that usually, right? So just leave that on those settings. Up here, generally what I do is I turn it to 80 megahertz, which is the fastest setting. I leave that all on auto, and I usually change this to AX, AC, and mixed, which will give you, the best, the three fastest AX, AC, and N standards that this router can do. It's up to you. If you leave it on mixed, that is the most compatible. If you're having problems with 2.4 gigahertz connecting, just switch it back to mixed. But I'm going to put it on here. There we go. Again, save. Don't hit save and apply. Going with wireless security here, and there's default passwords that were here already that came with the router. I'm just deleting them there. We're going to put new ones in here. I'm just going to keep the default passwords. Again, the configuration file that you download off the web page will have this in here if you do it. Otherwise, just put your own in. So I'm going to do that. Save again. Now, right here, we're going to add security modes to this. And you notice here that it says WPA3, and that's the only thing that's checked off. I would say for your at least your 2.4 gigahertz, use WPA2, right? Save that. Oh, just erase my key. Let's put it back in again. Again, it's about compatibility. There we go. And if you want more compatibility on your 5 gigahertz, turn on WPA2 as well. Some devices, I don't know what 5 gigahertz device couldn't use WPA3, but some have that problem. So here I'm just going to check that off, and that always erases the password. So you just got to put it in again. There we go. And again, save. This is a tedious process. I get it. So here we're going to hit disabled. This is for the IoT. So see, you can see here number 2, G Wi-Fi 50. So we're going to do WPA on that. Again, WPA2, WPA3, and you want to choose CCNP 128 over here. It was already default plugged in right here. So there we go. Put in a password for it and save that. And then scroll down here and you'll see another one down here that's disabled right there. And we're going to do the same thing. So WPA, WPA2, WPA. Keep scrolling down. It always does that every time you click on it too. Yeah. Scroll right back down again. It's one of those weird little quirks. And then choose CCNP 128 AES over there. Put a password in to it again. And just save. We haven't hit apply yet. All right. But we're about ready to. I'm going to double check this, make sure all my passwords are in here. So the next thing you're going to do is hook that Ethernet cable from your main router to this router. And it can go in any one of the rear ports. It doesn't matter which one. Again, if you want to just be absolutely safe for configuration sakes, just go right here. Don't use the WAN port, but once you hit save and apply, the WAN port will work, so you can use it if you wish to try it out and experiment with that. Up to you. So here we're going to hit save and apply. And then I'm going to go and hook mine up. There we go. Not a big deal. Now remember, we changed the IP address to 192.168.40.2. So we got to go to that next. So I'll let that reboot. I don't know if it's going to or not. Anyway, it doesn't matter. I'm just going to type it in here. New IP address for the router, 192.168.40.2. Yeah, I knew it would have to refresh. And an easy way to refresh it is just unplug reboot the router, turn it off, turn it on again. That'll reset it. Here, let's see what we got for an IP address. There we go. Yeah. See what I got? 192.168.40.1 for the DNS, the DHCP, and default gateway, which is exactly what we should have. And we're on the 40 network, as you saw there. I'll show you again. Right there, that's the 40 network. So now that router is doing, well, it's running as an access point now. So I'm just going to go here, continue our configuration. Now, one of the things I like to do is to turn off, I shouldn't, see, I'm not logged in right now to this router, right? So let me just do that again. As you see, all this is showing. It shouldn't be. I like to hide this stuff. I don't like this showing up. It's revealing too much information about my router. It's telling you the firmware type, everything. You know, like you don't want that showing up to anybody who doesn't have the username and password for your router. They shouldn't be able to see that. So if I go here to administration and I log in, all right, I'm logged in, and you'll end up in the management screen just by default. Go over here. I like to use HTTPS because I like to use secure protocols to look at the router, because then they can't be, what you're doing can't be intercepted. If you use HTTP, it's not secure. It's clear text. Your passwords go through the network through clear text. It's a security thing. It's up to you. You can do this way or just leave these settings alone. This is just the way I do it. So info site password protection, click on here. I'm going to save and apply. Okay. Now, the only way to log into this now is through secure connection. I'm going to log out here. And notice now that I didn't get to it right away. It took a little while to come up because it switched over to HTTPS instead of HTTP. And when you do that, every time you go to your router, you're going to get this, right? Click on advanced, basically telling you that you're going to a secured router that doesn't have a signed certificate, meaning that no one paid for the certificate. Doesn't mean it's risky. It's good. Use it. Just hit go to the advanced, then go to proceed here where it says risky, and then it's asking you for a username and password, but it's not showing you anything. So that's part of the security I was talking about. Again, you know, this is your router. You can configure it any way you want. I'm just giving you best practices here. Okay, so here we are. Now we actually get what you normally get without those settings. So here we go. Back to wireless here. Let's see how that's looking. Looks normal. Yep. And over here in wireless security, just double checking everything. Looks cool. Yep. All right. And we're getting there really quickly, right? What we have is right now we have all this stuff set up. Right now it's actually acting as an access point, but there's a few little things to do to actually make it a little bit more secure, and that's what we're going to do next. So over here, we're going to go over here to wireless again, basic settings, and under the virtual interfaces, and again, you can add more than just this. You could make a 3, a 4, a 5, whatever. It's up to you. But that's not what we're doing. We're going to go here to advanced settings, scroll down to app isolation right there, right? And then hit save. There you go. And then scroll down to the other virtual interface, which again, these are all what I would be using these for is IoT devices that you want to isolate. So we go back here to app settings, advanced settings, sorry, and then back over here to app isolation. What that does is that any device that connects to that Wi-Fi network can't see any of the other devices on that network. Now I can still see the router because this is running as an access point, so that's still there, but it cannot jump across to anybody else in that network. It isolates the device. As far as that device is concerned, it's there on a network by itself, which basically means if anybody ever compromises that device, some sort of glitch or virus or whatever vulnerability is found and that device is compromised, they can't see anything except for the router. And it'll be this router which is acting as an access point, which can't harm much, right? It won't see the rest of your network. That's still isolated. It's still jailed from this device. So really cool. So hit save on that again and save and apply. So at this point, we're basically set up. Anything you plug into the back of this router now will have an IP address, and you can use the WAN port if you want. Actually, what I'll do is do that myself. There we go. Now I'm plugged into the WAN port on that router. I'll just, do a disable, which is equivalent to unplugging the cable, and then enable it, and it will get an IP address and rock and roll. Now see status and details. So right click at status and then go to details, and you can see once again I'm on the 40 network, and there's my IP address on the 40 network. Pretty cool, right? And now that's on the WAN port, which is the yellow port on the back, which is acting just the same as all the rest of the router interfaces. Minimize that. Now let's check out Wi-Fi. I'm going to hook up to the 5G network here, so just click on that and connect. I got it already copied, so I don't have to type it in. Next. Boom. Right? Let's go look at the information for that connection. We are connected on Wi-Fi 6AX, which means it's Wi-Fi 6 at 12.01 megabytes per second, which is, as you know from my slides, the maximum speed that it can do. So it's as fast as it can go. It's on channel 56, ready to rock and roll. And we're not on a IoT, so again, the IoT will be able to see it anyway. But regardless, we can see the router from Wi-Fi there, and well, kind of not fair because I'm also connected here on Ethernet. Let's disable that. There we go. See if I can still see it. I can. There we are. As you can see, you can browse it all. And let's just go here. Let's do a little speed test, see how we're doing. Taking its time. That's why. There we go. They got a new website. They've updated the site here. All right, so let's go. They've updated their website, and my link isn't to the updated. Okay, Spectrum, we're going to change that. Let's go to Fort Worth. That's my favorite usually. Let's see how that goes. That's a little faster. Crawling up there, yeah. There we go. It's like I said, right now I've got this configured in not the most optimal way, but that's what you're getting here. So here we're going to go and do the same thing now for the 2.4 gigahertz. See how I had that set up? Wireless. There it is, 2.4. Right there, auto, mixed. Yeah. Okay. So we're connected to it. Nice strong signal. Let's go take a look and see what that says for the connection information. Again, AX, that's the nice thing about Wi-Fi 6 is that it upgrades 2.4 gigahertz and 5 gigahertz. So there it is right there. We've got a decent 287, 271 speed. Like I said, what's going to be your maximum that, and on 2.4 gigahertz, that's plenty fast. So I'm just going to close that off here. We can check the other G Wi-Fis, the isolated ones. Let's do that. And these would be where you put your IoT devices. So connect, put the password in, next. Connected, secured. Once again, it should be AX or Wi-Fi 6. Yep, WPA3, Wi-Fi 6. And the speed, 287, 287. Now, like I said, not maximized. I could make that even faster, but I want compatibility over speed. And at 287 megabits per second, plenty fast for 2.4 gigahertz. Now let's go do the same thing with the 5 gigahertz IoT. There we go. Where is it? There it is. Connect to it. Now, there we are. Next. Now I'm going to connect my phone to that same IoT jailed access point. Okay, I'm connected to it. My IP address is, wow, nice speed on the 50. It's on the 50, right? I'm on the 50, yeah. I got 816 megabytes on that one per second. Very quick. All right, that's better. There you go. If you guys can see that or not, probably not. 600. Let me brighten that up. All right, let's do it. So yeah, there's a very, very decent speed test on that access point. You saw it go to 700 there for a second, right? So yeah, very, very fast. Oh, 600. I got 700 something on the last one. Still going. Now 40 megabits per second is the fastest it can do. So on that end, it's excellent. So let's get the IP address on this is 40.139. So let's see if we can ping it. It means that both of these devices are on the same network, on that GY550, and they can't see each other. So I can't ping the computer, and the computer can't ping me. So again, proving that that is an isolated network. See if you guys can see that. 700, 722. Wi-Fi. Awesome. All right. So again, really, really good solution for this problem. We're using this router as an access point. Obviously, gives you way more flexibility than just using one of these access points that you can buy for $40 to $74, which is crazy. You can buy two of those routers for $74, and going to be every bit as good and every bit as fast. Actually, it's going to be much better because it gives you a lot, like I said, a lot more options than what you currently have here. All right, so that's it. Now, if you want to download those, see the diagram and download those configuration files, again, it'll be the first pinned comment in the comment section below. Put your comments down there if you want to see something, or you want something explained, or you have some questions, or you have a suggestion, whatever you want to say to me, put it in the comments section. I love it when you guys give me that feedback, especially, video requests and stuff like that. And a lot of those questions I do make videos out of, because actually, more than one person asked me. A lot of people are asking me. It's like, okay, let's explain it to everybody, make a video. So I appreciate those. In the video description, again, I'm going to have chapters for this video with all the settings and the stuff that I showed in this video as well. I'll probably put links for the videos as well that I recommend. So please go take a look at that. Do me a favor, use those links. They help me out, and I appreciate it when you guys do that. Also, if you like my video and helped you out in some way, give me a thumbs up, give me a like at the bottom. That helps me on the YouTube algorithm as well. If you like my content and want to watch more of it, subscribe to my channel. As part of that process, hit the bell icon. Then once you hit the bell icon, you'll be notified every time I put up a new video, and you can watch it at your own leisure or time. Again, and like always, take care of yourself, take care of others, stay healthy, stay happy, and we'll see you on the next video.